In this episode of The Living Word, we will get a bee's eye view of life in the hive. The meticulous order and organization of a beehive is a wonderful thing to see. But first, here's something else that indicates order and design. Music by the Salvation Army Band and the toe-tapping rhythm of the march. Maurice Maeterlinck, the famous Belgian poet, essayist, and mystic, wrote his Life of the Bee over 60 years ago. Ever since that time, the book has been regarded as a classic study on the honeybee, its habits and its peculiar, almost miraculous instincts. Maeterlinck was one of the first great minds to delve into the secrets of bee life and to explore the 1,001 marvels of the beehive. And every new discovery brought a new realization that behind all these mysteries there had to be an all-powerful supreme being. As Maeterlinck said himself, "The more I know about the bee, the more am I humbled, and the more do I marvel at the divine intelligence that created this tiny creature and its infallible instincts." Today, with the aid of movie cameras and high-magnification lenses, the fascinating story of the bee can be told in a new dimension. Whereas Maeterlinck described the life and pursuits of the bee, we are now permitted to see him in action, even follow him into the hive. So come with me now as we take what we have called a bee's eye view of the busy world that is peculiarly his own. All winter long, the bees have clustered in the hive. With the blossoming of spring, the female worker bee starts her seasonal round, gathering honey, and in nature's wonderful economy, also fertilizing the fruit blossoms. Back in the hive, we find perhaps 80,000 female bees. They do all the work. During the summer, the hive also contains numerous drone bees. Here a worker feeds the drone. The male drones do no work, but are tolerated because they must fertilize the queen bee. The drone can be recognized by his stout body and large eyes. This is the queen bee. There is only one queen to a hive, and she does nothing but lay eggs in the wax cells. Here we see the three types of bees together. The worker is feeding the queen, the other is the drone. Working instinctively, the worker bees perform many duties, the most important being the gathering of nectar. The nectar is changed to honey in their bodies. On entering the hive, the field bees transfer the honey to the hive bees, who deposit the treasure into wax cells. The cells are capped. Flower pollen is also important to the bee. It collects on the fine body hairs and is combed into pouches on the legs. Inside the hive, this worker looks for a cell for her pollen, then kicks it off. Meanwhile, another worker mixes pollen with nectar and packs it down to make bee bread, food for the young. As for the queen, she lays thousands of eggs, her only occupation. She's always served by a court of workers who wait on her at all times. Worker bees carefully clean the brood cells ahead of the queen. After close inspection, Her Majesty lays an egg. Here is the egg at the bottom of the cell. Within 3 days, the egg hatches into a tiny larva. Nurse bees move from cell to cell, feeding the young. The larvae develop very quickly. Here we see larvae in various stages of development. Preparing for metamorphosis, the larvae spins cocoons in the cells. The workers cap the brood cells with wax. The larvae turn into pupae. The legs and wings are developing. The young bee is now ready to emerge. 21 days have passed since the egg was laid. She cuts the wax cap and joins the other workers. And now we look in on one of nature's most amazing secrets. Bees have a language. After finding a rich source of nectar or pollen, the worker executes a dance on the comb. This dancer has found pollen. Her jostling gyrations tell the other workers where the pollen of nectar-laden flowers are, both the direction and the distance from the hive. Trying to explain this phenomenon, many scientists simply admit that it is God's hand at work in nature. An intruding bumblebee seeks admission to the hive, but the guards promptly eject the larger bee. He has no place here. When extreme summer heat invades the hive, the bees instinctively start fanning their wings to cool it off. The bees we see are fanning cooler air in through the entrance, thus perpetuating the world's first air conditioning system. As new bees are born, the hive becomes crowded. New cells or comb are needed. In building comb, the workers cooperate by joining their legs in a living bridge. In this manner, they reach places no one bee could manage alone. They work the wax into shape with their mandibles. The wax comes from glands in the bee's abdomen. Here we witness precision unsurpassed in the animal world, baffling even to the keenest scientific mind. It is the kind of precision that seems to point unerringly to the creative and directing hand of God. But now there is trouble in the hive. The queen is dying, and this could mean disaster. The workers look for a young larva less than 3 days old to save the colony. New cells are built for royal occupancy, and hundreds of times a day the nurses visit the queen larvae with royal jelly to promote unusual growth. Finally, the pupa is shedding its skin. The skin can be seen at the tip of the body. 3 queens are fully developed after 16 days. The first queen emerges and goes straight to the nearest queen cell and kills her rival sister. Meanwhile, the third queen escapes her cell, and a dramatic battle takes place. Although several queens may develop, only one can survive, and the survivor must find a drone and mate. The large eyes of the drone bee help him follow the queen as she leaves the hive in flight. Once she has mated with the drone, the queen returns to the hive. She will lay unfertilized eggs in the larger wax cells. These will develop into drones. Fertilized eggs are laid in the smaller cells. These become workers. She controls the sex of the young bees in this miraculous manner. The bees grow and multiply, and many swarm out of the hive with the queen. Thousands of bees looking for a new home. The bees cluster in a tree while scouts go out on the hunt. They find this hollow log, and the colony moves in. Soon the workers are back on the job, and the same beautifully coordinated cycle begins all over again. Who can look into the life of the bee without thinking of the marvelous wisdom and provision of God? The psalmist David sang, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork." While all of us, along with the bees, share in those benefits of our Creator's goodness which sustain life and satisfy our needs, we often overlook God's greatest gift, the gift of His love. The wonder of God's handiwork in creation staggers the greatest minds, but after all has been said about the marvelous instincts of the bee, the power to know and share the love of God stands supreme. The love of God is seen at its height in Jesus Christ, who loved us and gave Himself for us. Outside of His love, we are incomplete, that we may know Him and the power of His love pulsing through our lives. This greatest miracle can be the experience of all through Jesus. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Join us again when we will seek to learn more of the living Word, and of Him who is, in very truth, the living Word. What do you really know about the world's bestseller? This free Bible correspondence course is yours just for the asking. Simply send a letter or postcard to The Living Word, care of this station. Do it today. Do it now.